I came home that night thinking only about two things: leftover lasagna and a cold beer. Work had been a shit show from the minute I walked in, and all I wanted was peace. As I kicked off my boots and dropped my keys on the kitchen counter, I heard it. Laughter coming from the living room. Not the normal kind either. It was sharp, fake, like it belonged in some reality show. I froze. Claire was on speakerphone. I could hear three different voices chiming in, all of them practically competing to one-up each other. "Oh my God, Claire, how do you get him to go along with that?" She laughed, loud and performative. "Please, Ryan's easy." I just twisted a little, make it seem like it was his idea to begin with. Works every time. They all burst out laughing again. I didn't move. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I stood there, just around the corner, heart racing. It wasn't the words exactly. It was the way she said them. So smug, like I was a project she'd mastered. Then came another voice. "Girl, I need lessons. You should write a manual, how to train your husband without him knowing." Claire replied without missing a beat. "That's not far off, honestly. I just plant the idea and let him think it's his. You gotta know how to work around a man's ego, especially one like Ryan." That one cut deep. I backed up slowly, my footsteps silent on the hardwood. I didn't want her to know I'd heard any of it. I needed a second to breathe. My hand was shaking as I grabbed a beer from the fridge and walked down the hall. In the quiet of the hallway, I started thinking back. Last month, when I canceled a weekend trip with my brother, because Claire said she had a weird feeling about me going. When she cried about me working late and somehow made it about feeling abandoned. The time she guilted me into buying her a new car when we weren't even done paying off the last one. Back then, it all seemed like normal relationship stuff. Give and take, I told myself. Now, it felt a lot more like give and manipulate. I should have walked back in there and called her out. I wanted to, but I didn't. Instead, I kept walking past the office and straight into the bedroom. Shut the door behind me, didn't slam it, didn't speak. Just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I stayed on the edge of the bed for a minute, then stood up, beer still in hand, and walked straight into my office. Didn't even turn the light on at first. Just sat down in the chair and stared at the monitor like it was supposed to tell me what the hell to do next. Work emails were piling up, project timelines overdue, vendors late. Normally I'd be all over it. That night, I couldn't give a damn. I opened the latest logistics file, something about component delays out of Texas, but I couldn't track a single line. My brain kept dragging me back to that laugh in the living room. Claire's voice, full of smug pride, echoing through the walls. I ran my hand through my hair and leaned back in the chair. All right, if this was work, what would I do? Identify the problem, run scenarios, build contingencies. Simple. Except, this wasn't a supply chain hiccup. This was my wife. I started thinking back, not just last month or last year, but way back. Even in the early days, Claire always had this way of shifting things. When she didn't want to go to my mom's birthday dinner, she said she felt anxious around my family, so I went alone. When she didn't like my friend Eric, she hinted that he gave her bad vibes. Suddenly, I stopped calling him. It was subtle. Never a fight. Always a feeling, a tear, a vague sense that I'd somehow disappointed her. I used to think I was being a good husband, supportive, present. Now, I wasn't so sure. I opened another file, tried focusing on inventory reports. Still nothing. What pissed me off most wasn't Claire. It was me. I let this happen. All this time, I thought I was fixing things, being patient, staying calm, giving space. Turns out, I was just folding. I rubbed my eyes and sat there in silence. No music, no TV. Just me and this cold beer I wasn't even drinking. My phone buzzed on the desk. Text from Greg. Still on for the hike Saturday? 7 a.m., sharp. No excuses this time. I stared at it for a second. Greg had been asking for months, and I kept bailing. Too tired, too busy. Claire had plans. Not this time. Yeah, I'm in, I typed back. And I meant it. I realized I hadn't done a single thing just for me in a long damn time. Claire used to call it selfish when I wanted space. She'd pout, or act distant for a couple days. I got tired of the drama, so I just stopped asking. I looked around the office, my books, my whiteboard, my old hiking boots collecting dust in the corner. How the hell did I forget who I was outside of her? I picked up my planner and started jotting down some things. Work notes, personal reminders, anything to feel like I was back in control of something. Claire hadn't come down the hall yet. No babe, no fake check-in. She probably didn't even realize I heard her. That was fine. Let her stay in her bubble. I took another sip of beer and opened a fresh spreadsheet, not to work, but to plan. Not for the company, but for me. I didn't tell Claire anything. No big announcement, no dramatic speech. I just started doing what I wanted to do, quietly. Saturday morning, I got up at 6, made coffee, laced up my boots. By the time Claire shuffled into the kitchen in her robe, I was tying the last knot. She blinked at me. "Where are you going this early?" "Hiking," I said, grabbing my water bottle. "Meeting Greg." She tilted her head. "Since when are you back into that?" I just shrugged and walked out. Didn't ask for permission. It felt good. Greg and I did the 5-mile loop around Blue Ridge like old times. We didn't talk much, just walked, broke a sweat, cleared our heads. Afterward, we grabbed breakfast, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had space to breathe. Sunday, I hit the gym. Monday night, I signed up for a leadership course I'd been putting off since last year. Something I wanted to do, not for a raise, not for anyone else, just me. I didn't say a word about it to Claire. She noticed, though. By Wednesday, she started dropping comments. "Wow, someone suddenly got a full calendar." I didn't bite. Thursday night, she said it louder. "You've been kinda busy lately. Should I make an appointment if I want to see my husband?" I just looked at her and said, "You know where I'll be." Then I went out for a run. I could feel the tension building, like she didn't know where to aim it yet. But I didn't owe her an explanation. Not this time. I called my brother that weekend. We hadn't talked in months. I didn't even have a reason, just told him I was thinking about coming up to Pittsburgh for a visit. He sounded surprised. "You and Claire good with that?" "I don't need Claire's sign-off," I said flatly. "I'll let you know the dates." Another piece of me snapped back into place. The more I leaned into my own life, the less weight I felt dragging behind me. I wasn't angry, I wasn't trying to hurt her, I just didn't care to be managed anymore. Claire didn't yell. That wasn't her style. Instead, she pulled the emotional strings. One night, as I was putting on my shoes to head out, she said, "Guess I'll eat alone, again." I paused, looked right at her, and said, "You know how to use DoorDash." Then I left. Was it cold? Maybe. But I'd spent years rearranging myself around her moods. She could figure dinner out without me for once. The distance between us grew fast, but it didn't scare me. I felt solid again, like I was actually sitting in the driver's seat. Claire kept trying to act normal. She'd kiss my cheek in the mornings, ask how work was, send me dumb memes during the day like everything was fine. But there was a stiffness in her voice now, like she knew something was changing and couldn't quite grab onto it. I didn't explain a thing. I didn't know her that either. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I was an hour later than usual. Unexpected system outage at work. Nothing I could blow off. I sent Claire a quick text, but she never replied. I walked in, dropped my bag by the door, and kicked off my shoes. The lights in the kitchen were on, and Claire was sitting at the table, arms crossed, untouched plate in front of her. She didn't even look at me. So, I guess dinner plans didn't matter. I didn't respond right away. I walked past her, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, then leaned against the counter. There was a problem at work. I stayed to fix it. "That's your excuse? Number? That's what happened?" She finally looked up at me, her jaw tight. "You could have called." I texted. She stood, pushing her chair back a little too hard. "This isn't about a text, Ryan. It's about respect. You knew we had plans tonight, and you just decided they didn't matter?" I kept my voice steady. "It's not that they didn't matter. It's that I had a job to do, and it couldn't wait." She laughed, short and sharp. "Right, of course. Work always comes first now, doesn't it?" "I'm not apologizing for doing my job." She took a step closer. "You used to care. You used to show up. I used to cancel everything to avoid upsetting you. That's not the same thing." That hit her. I saw it. Her mouth opened like she wanted to fire back, but nothing came out right away. She tried a different angle. "So what? I'm just supposed to sit here and eat alone while you save the world?" "You're not helpless, Claire. You could have eaten without me. You could have called me if it mattered that much." Her face twisted like I'd insulted her. "Wow, you really don't care anymore." I took a breath. "I care. I just don't cave anymore." She stared at me for a long second. Not angry, confused. Like she was trying to flip through her mental playbook, and none of the moves were landing. Then she went quiet. No storming off, no tears, just silence. And it wasn't the usual cold shoulder crap. This felt different. I rinsed my water bottle and set it on the drying rack. I'm going to shower. No reply. Upstairs under the hot water, I stood still with my hands pressed to the tile. I wasn't angry, wasn't shaking, I was calm, and that calm felt like oxygen. All these years I'd been walking on eggshells, doing mental math before every decision. Will this upset her? Will this start a fight? Tonight, I didn't flinch. After the shower, I came back down to grab my phone. Claire was still at the table, scrolling through something mindlessly, her dinner cold. Heading to bed, I said. She didn't look up, just nodded. I climbed the stairs slow, taking in every step, realizing how unfamiliar this kind of peace was. Not the absence of conflict, but the absence of submission. The next morning, Claire was all smiles. She made breakfast, eggs, toast, even fresh coffee. Set the table and everything. Thought I'd surprise you, she said, placing the plate in front of me, like we hadn't just sat in cold silence the night before. I nodded. Thanks. That was it. I ate, cleaned up my plate, and left for work without a long goodbye. By the end of the week, the shift was obvious. She started complimenting things she never cared about. You've been looking good lately, she said one night while I laced up for the gym. I didn't answer, just grabbed my towel and left. 2 days later, she showed up in the garage while I was reorganizing some shelves. Hey, I was thinking, maybe this weekend we could drive out to the lake house, just the two of us. I looked up from the toolbox. I've got plans with my brother. Her smile twitched. Okay, maybe next weekend then? We'll see. She stood there a beat too long, waiting for me to crack. When I didn't, she turned and walked back inside. She wasn't used to this version of me, the one who didn't jump when she dangled bait. I stuck to my routine: work, gym, early morning runs, weekly calls with my brother, hikes with Greg. I didn't make excuses. I didn't ask for time. I took it. And Claire kept trying. One night she lit candles in the living room and pulled out a bottle of wine. I came home from work and found her curled up on the couch in some silky thing she hadn't worn in years. Thought we could have a little date night, she said, patting the cushion next to her. I dropped my keys on the counter. I'm not in the mood tonight. Her expression barely held together. You're never in the mood anymore. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for pretending. That one landed. She didn't chase me upstairs, didn't yell, just sat there, alone with her wine and her setup. I shut the bedroom door and sat on the edge of the bed, realizing something I'd ignored for years. This marriage had always been a trade. Affection cost obedience, peace cost silence. Every damn thing had a price. And I'd been paying it on time, without question. Not anymore. That night, I opened my laptop and finished registering for the advanced leadership course I'd put off. I messaged Greg about a weekend trip next month. Then I checked flights to Pittsburgh. I wasn't planning an escape. I was planning a life that didn't revolve around managing someone else's moods. Claire was shifting gears faster now. Nice one day, cold the next. Guilt trips, fake concern, back to flattery. I recognized every play. None of them worked. I kept doing what I was doing. She stopped asking where I was going, started cooking for herself, started scrolling her phone in bed while I read my books in silence. The distance didn't feel like a threat anymore. It felt like breathing room. The following weekend, Claire invited some friends over for dinner. Last minute, no heads up. I came back from the gym to find the kitchen full of wine bottles, cheese boards, and forced laughter. I walked in, nodded a hello, and went straight upstairs to shower. When I came back down, I sat in the living room quietly with a beer, not engaging, not avoiding. Just there. Claire made a show of it. "Oh, look who finally joined us," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mr. Schedule. Maybe he can pencil in some time for his wife tonight." The women laughed politely. I didn't. I took a sip of beer and said, "You didn't tell me we had guests." She smiled too wide. "Spontaneity is healthy for a marriage, right?" Nobody knew what to say after that, so they changed the subject. Later, while cleaning up, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You really couldn't just go along with it? You had to make it awkward?" "I didn't make anything awkward," I said, rinsing a glass. "You did that all by yourself." She huffed and walked off. No slamming, just quiet boiling. That had become her new strategy, guilt by silence. Thing was, it didn't move me anymore. The next couple weeks followed the same pattern. She'd act sweet in the morning, cold by afternoon. One night she baked a cake I didn't ask for. The next, she snapped because I didn't notice she'd reorganized the closet. I started seeing it clearly. She wasn't angry I was different. She was scared her grip was slipping. I kept doing what needed to be done. Took out the trash, mowed the lawn, paid the bills, talked when spoken to. But I didn't lean in, didn't initiate. Emotionally, I was already halfway out the door. Even in conversations, I noticed how shallow it had all become. "What do you want for dinner?" she asked one night. "Whatever's easy." You used to have opinions. Still do, just not about dinner. That shut her down. But instead of feeling smug, I just felt tired. I wasn't trying to win anymore. I was just living. Claire tried to force moments, random hugs, long stares, fake concern when I yawned. "Are you okay? You've been distant." "I'm fine," I said. And I was. Maybe for the first time in years. The more space I took, the clearer everything looked. Our entire relationship had been built on a structure I didn't fully sign up for. I kept trying to reinforce it, while she just manipulated the angles. Now the structure was cracking, and instead of repairing it, I was just standing back and watching. One night, I came home from work and found her scrolling through old photos on her laptop. "Remember this?" she asked, turning the screen toward me. It was a picture from a trip to Asheville years ago. I looked at it, nodded. "Back when we were still us," she said softly. I didn't respond. She waited, then closed the laptop and left the room. I didn't follow. A few days later, I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed. Text from my brother. "Still good for next weekend? We can hit the trail early Saturday." I stared at it for a second. Normally I'd hesitate, check Claire's schedule, feel out her mood. Not anymore. "Yep. Count me in," I replied. And just like that, the last piece clicked into place. I had just finished packing for the weekend trip. Nothing big, just a duffel and a pair of boots by the front door. I was rinsing out a water bottle when Claire came into the kitchen, her arms crossed, face tight, but not angry. "Can we talk?" I dried my hands and nodded once. "Sure." She sat down at the table and motioned for me to do the same. I didn't sit right away, just leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching her. She exhaled like it took effort just to get the words out. "I don't know what's happening between us, or I guess I do, but I don't know how we got here." I didn't answer, just waited. "I feel like I don't even recognize you lately." "I'm not sure I recognized myself for a long time either," I said. That quieted her. She looked down at the table, fingers tracing the wood grain. "Did I really push you that far away?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "You didn't push me, you managed me. Every decision, every feeling, every damn move I made, I second-guessed because I knew there'd be a price." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. "I didn't mean to do that," she said quietly. "Maybe not, but you did it anyway." She looked up. "So what now? Are you just checked out for good?" I finally sat down across from her. "Number. But things don't go back to what they were. Not ever. If we keep going, it's on new terms. Real ones." She waited. "Like what? No manipulation? No guilt tripping? No emotional pressure every time something doesn't go your way? We make decisions together. We speak up without spinning it into a power move." She rolled her eyes slightly. "You make it sound like I've been plotting some evil scheme." I leaned forward. "Claire, you said it yourself. You bragged about knowing how to make me do things without me realizing. You laughed about it. I heard you." She froze. Her face dropped. "You were listening that night?" I nodded. "And that's when I realized none of it was accidental. You knew exactly what you were doing." She stared at the table again. "That was stupid. I was trying to sound clever. I didn't mean for it to sound manipulative," I cut in. Too late. She went quiet again. The room felt thick with tension, but I wasn't backing off. Finally, she asked, "And if I can't do all that? If things don't change?" I didn't blink. "Then we separate. No screaming, no drama, just two adults walking away, with respect." That one hit hard. I saw her chest rise like she'd been holding her breath. "You'd really just leave?" "I'm already gone in every way that counts. I'm just giving you a chance to decide if you want to meet me where I am now. If not, that's fine. But I'm not going back." She looked at me like I'd just spoken a language she'd never heard before. No yelling, no begging, no anger. Just clarity. "I didn't think you had this in you," she said after a long silence. I stood up. "I didn't either, but I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you where I stand. She didn't argue, didn't follow me when I walked out of the room. And that silence, finally, felt real. The next morning, she acted like none of it happened. Poured my coffee, asked if I wanted eggs, kissed my shoulder like we were still pretending to be something close. I told her I wasn't hungry, grabbed my keys, and left early for work. She tried everything after that. First came the nostalgia. She dug out old photos, started playing our wedding song when I walked through the door one night. "You remember this?" she asked softly, standing in the kitchen with her phone on the counter playing that damn John Mayer track. "Yeah," I said, walking right past her. Still not a fan of it. Next came the sweetness, little gestures. Notes in my lunch, fresh towels folded just the way I liked them. Even my favorite beer magically appeared in the fridge after a long day. I didn't react. I didn't throw it back in her face. But I didn't reward it either. This wasn't about small kindnesses. It was about ownership. She couldn't love me back into submission. I kept my schedule tight. Up at 5, running 3 miles before work. Gym twice a week. Thursday night drinks with Greg. Weekly call with my brother. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't ask if she needed anything. And slowly, the cracks started showing. She began sighing louder, getting snappy over little things. "You're barely here anymore," she muttered one evening when I was lacing up my running shoes. "I'm here every night," I said calmly. "You just don't control the minutes like you used to." She didn't respond. That night, she made dinner for 2, set the table with candles, wore lipstick. I came home, nodded at the setup, and made myself a plate without a word. After we ate, I went to the garage to work on the shelves I'd been fixing. She followed me 20 minutes later, stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You can't even say thank you?" "I didn't ask for any of that," I said without looking up. Her voice cracked a little. "I'm trying, Ryan. I'm trying." In Nombrzits, "You're performing." That shut her up. But the real test came a week later. She came into the bedroom late, hair brushed, makeup on, wearing nothing but a thin robe. She slid into bed next to me and put a hand on my chest. "I miss you," she whispered. I looked at her hand, then at her. "This isn't how we fix things," I said. She leaned in. "I just want to feel close to you again." I pulled her hand off my chest gently. "Not like this. Not until we actually deal with the shit we never talk about." She froze, then shifted away, pulling the covers up without another word. I got out of bed and went to sleep in the guest room. She didn't follow. For once, the house felt still. Not quiet like silence before a storm. Just still. That next morning, she didn't try anything. No coffee, no sweet voice, no pouting. And for the first time in years, I drank my coffee in peace. 2 days later, I came home to find a travel itinerary printed and waiting on the counter. Claire was in the kitchen, pretending to be casual, but I saw the way her eyes tracked me as I read it. "Weekend getaway," she said. "Just the 2 of us. That cabin you liked in Asheville, I booked it." I didn't touch the paper. "When were you going to tell me?" I asked. "I'm telling you now." I met her eyes. "You didn't ask?" She smiled, thin and tight. "I thought it'd be a nice surprise. We need a reset, Ryan. Time away, just us." I kept my tone calm. "I'm open to the trip, once we resolve the stuff we haven't talked through." Her face changed. "Why does everything have to be so formal now? Can't we just go and see how it feels?" "No," I said plainly. "That's the problem. We've been avoiding the hard stuff, hiding behind plans and gestures. I'm done with that." She crossed her arms. "So what, I'm trying and that's still not enough?" "Trying doesn't mean controlling the narrative," I said. "Booking a cabin isn't vulnerability. It's a distraction." She opened her mouth like she wanted to yell, then stopped. Her shoulders dropped. "I don't know how else to do this," she said quietly. "I don't know how to just be open without steering everything. That's what needs to change." She sat down at the table. "If I say I'll try, really try, do you even want this anymore?" "I want something real," I said. "Not this version where we're always pretending. If we're gonna move forward, it's gotta be honest. Both of us. No more games." She nodded slowly, staring at the floor. No pushback. No fake charm. It felt like the first real moment between us in a long time. I grabbed the itinerary and folded it once. "I'm not saying no to the trip. I'm saying not yet." She didn't argue, and for the first time, I didn't walk away feeling guilty. I walked upstairs knowing I'd said exactly what needed to be said. No anger, no apology, just the truth.